Hello, everyone. We're going to be going through an AEM overview. So, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to look at how exactly things are placed, where exactly our files can be found, and actually pretty much everything almost from the ground up. This assumes that you already have AEM installed. If you haven't, try and install it here. By installing it, you only need the jar file and the license file, and by double clicking it, it will run and install. So no big deal. But if you do not have that, please ask your uh, team leader, tech leader, to provide you a copy of AEM because we're definitely gonna need it. So um, once you have AEM running, which you should run the quick start command, you're gonna see a window similar to this one. Basically, you now have access to it on uh, the port that you say. For that, obviously, there's another video around where I explain a little bit on what this number means, but basically it means the port where AEM is going to be installed. So it's important to have it like that. So if you see it's 4502. So by doing that and clicking enter, you're going to be able to just go there and type admin, which is a local credentials for you to get in. And if you go to the site admin, you're going to see the entire file structure or the entire folder structure of your website, of all the folders and all the sites that are part or are included in your AEM installation. From here, you can create new pages, create new DAM objects, which are basically images or or things like that. And so, yeah, that's one of the important parts of AEM. Um, Another one that's important is oops, uh, the CRXE. The CRXE is where you're able to look at the entire folder structure, the internal folder structure, and where every single file is uh, is actually in. And you can also modify them and make changes here and reflect them in real time on your AEM installation. So, for example, here we have we have a lot of stuff. Talking about the EMC, especially, uh, we're gonna see that we have a support folder here, an EMC folder, and then we also have a support folder. All the pages that we have are gonna be under this folder, um, especially under English. Just doing a quick overview of how to work with AEM, although our most important part here, or our objective really, is to show you guys how to work with front-end technologies inside of AEM. Again, we do need to go through an overview of AEM. I will post another video that goes into much more detail than this one, but for now, um, remember we need to have AEM running, so we need to install it first. For that, we need to have Java installed, we need to have Maven installed, and we need to have AEM installed, which is shown here. Um, Important parts again: the site admin, where we can create new pages and do an administration of all the pages that we currently have, all the websites that we currently have, and the digital assets. The DAM is basically all the images that we're gonna have available for us to use inside of our page, inside of our website. So it's important. If I go here to here, for example, support English testing homepage, I see that we have a couple of images here available. These other buttons you can ignore for now because they are not really relevant here. Another one that is important is localhost. You can also go to the CRX package manager. The package manager is something that allows us to import and export entire chunks of a structure within an AEM website. Um, from the repo, which I'm just really quickly here, OLS trunk, OLS applications. Basically, when you get the repo, which is this one, uh, we have two main folders. One is EMC content, and the other one is support. If we go into EMC content, you're going to see that there are a bunch of zip files. All of these zip files need to be uploaded here um, into the CRXD package manager. How do you do that? You basically go here and say upload package. So, I mean, basically what you do is you browse for that specific file. So we're gonna go here, projects, OLS, trunk, OS applications, EMC content, and here we have all of these files. I already have them installed, so this is probably not the best way of showing you guys how to do it. But you go here, and I'm just gonna force the upload here. You don't really need to do that, but I'm gonna do it because I already have them. So you click OK here, and as you can see, the global nav content zip file is out here, and the next step for each one of these files is I need to, well, I see uninstall, but you're going to see install. Again, you just need to go through all of these files, upload all of these, each one of them. It's going to take a long time. And after you do that, with every single one, you need to install them. That's how you're going to get all the necessary uh, well, yeah, all the dependencies that you need, a bunch of different pages, test data, and external components that you also need, references for Java, bundles, etc. You're going to find a lot of information here that needs to be, again, installed via the package manager. So that's an important page. The CRXE, which allows us to, again, look at everything, and our actual site manager. So since this is an overview of AEM, I'm just going to go and say, okay, how does AEM work? What's the paradigm? How does it do things? So I'm going to go and I'm going to create a new page. And as you can see, once I do that, I have a couple of new, a couple of available templates. Uh, a template for AEM is basically a component as well, and it includes a bunch of things that it should do, uh, a bunch of business rules that are there, and a bunch of components that it should preload or have already available. So I'm going to create a new page. It's going to be called new page, and whatever. I'm going to use this one, support profile template. So I'm going to create that, and I'm double clicking it. This one is a profile template, so it has some different things that another template might have. So I'm also at the same time while this one is loading, I'm also going to open the homepage. Why not? So while these guys load, because they are taking a long time. It's a great. Okay. One second. Okay, so how's what's the difference between a template? Again, basically, a template can have a couple of different components and a couple of different things that it's going to be doing per se. So as you can see here, I already opened two pages. One of them is a homepage which has uh, this template, support homepage template, and the other one is a brand new page, doesn't really have anything. This is not the best example because they do share a lot of things, but this one is already an edited, you know, a template that has already been edited, and as you can see, there are a lot of components that have a lot of different things, and that's what we can modify. So I mean, this is already a build chain component. So I'm gonna go to a template that doesn't really have anything. um, from here, this window, which is called the sidekick, I can drag and drop components into the actual template. So let's just try and do that. Uh, to make it super easy, we're gonna try and drag in raw HTML component. This component just allows us to place anything here. So I'm just gonna place here a div with a built-in style, and we're gonna give it some padding so that it looks decent. Uh, and we're also just, I mean, that, again, this is just a very simple test, but it will allow us to showcase a little bit on how this happens. Okay, so as you can see, I just added a component. In this case, it is a very clear-cut thing of what we're doing. We're basically adding external HTML to the page, but there are many other components that do not allow that. For example, if I were to pull in maybe something like, what would be a good idea? Title text. Title text will allow me to modify text, but all the CSS, all the HTML, and all the JavaScript is hidden elsewhere. We cannot get to it. So I'm just gonna give it a title, and I'm just gonna say something here, and that's it. I mean, it does give me what it says, what you get editor. We say we get editor, but oh, and I didn't modify it. Um, and I want to watch the actual view that it's gonna provide me. So what that happens is it gives me a title and gives me my text, and as you can see here, it's bold. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like how components work, how components are built in internally, and from there, uh, from this, these are basically like building blocks. You can drag as many of them as you want. There are some other components that are gonna have uh, an, or add another place where you can drag children components, like for example this column control. I can drag this one in, and I can select how this is gonna behave. So for example, I wanna say I want 3 columns, so I can use this one, thirds v2, and I'm gonna click. I can even add maybe a line here to separate them. So I'm gonna say that I want that. Click OK, and we should see uh, at least 3 spaces. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this guy and I'm going to paste it here. Right clicking here does work. And I'm going to do the same with this HTML support. I'm going to copy or cut, paste it here, and I'm just going to preview so that we can see how it looks. I'm going to click, I'm going to hit refresh so that we can see it in action. And there we go. Uh, Here's 1 column, 2 column, the other column. Okay, and that's like again a very basic overview of how components work. Now, the important part, which is how are we using Angular inside of these components. That's where another component that we built that's called support dynamic data comes in. So I'm going to place that component in here. For that to work, we definitely need to do this on a support profile template, because if we do that on any other template, it's actually going to throw us an error. Uh, in fact, I'm going to show you that right now. I think this one is empty, but I mean, this one is a homepage template and it is empty. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to drag support dynamic data component, place it here, and then I'm going to click on it and say that I want to display something from the user profile and maybe the email and whatever. I'm going to click OK here, and I should see an error message saying place this component in the support profile template, because otherwise it doesn't work. So we are going to delete this one from here because we're getting that message. We're going to put it here, we'll go back here. This is the profile template, so we can add things here. So we're gonna do something like that. We're gonna go to the user profile information and we're gonna grab maybe the email. And we're gonna give it a title. Click OK, and there we go. We see an email and a couple of properties here, and yeah. So where is all of this coming from, and how are we building it? Basically, the way that this is happening is I'm gonna go to the code now. Uh, for that to happen, we're gonna open the support dynamic data component. So what is the support dynamic data component doing? Basically, it's looking for uh, the name of the property that we called here. So it's going to be looking for user profile information. That template. It's going to try and open the template for profile information. So let's see. Inside this folder, we should have a template user profile information, which is this one. So we're going to open that one. And don't worry for now for the Sightly code. We're gonna get into it in a little bit more detail later on, but for now it's not that important. Um, so what this one is doing is also trying to include a different kind of template, but it's looking for the user profile section. So in this case, we selected email. So here on user profile, we should see one that's called email. And we also have here the error that we were showing and a couple of code or a bunch of code that goes in here. Um, as you can see here, most of this is pretty much directly Angular code with some sightly strings sprinkled in somewhere, but most of it, again, uh, comes here from the engine controller. All right. So basically, again, this is just a couple of sightly strings that are sprinkled in, but pretty much everything else is just an engine controller that's being used inside of AEM. So if we go here and look at the code, I'm going to open the developer tools. I'm going to go here, and this where is it? Here, here it is. It says, "Oh, give me the engine controller user email control," and it's opening up a lot of things. So that's basically the way that it works. And but now comes the question of how is that happening? How are we able to read that information, and how do we add new controllers and new things? So that's what we're gonna be doing in this video. So first of all, we're gonna be looking for a file that's called js.txt. That's inside of jcr app support. No, that's inside of jcr roots, zero science support assets js support base, and then we have this file js.txt. Uh, I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail, but basically what we're doing here is uh, we're telling AEM that this specific component is going to be built using all of these files. So what it does is it goes and grabs all the files that we have here. We're adding a couple of files for support, libraries, widgets, custom, and then we have the important part or the meaty part, which is Angular. First of all, we're loading it with app.js. We have an app. Then we're loading services, controllers, and directives. All of these files are here, and basically are the ones that we need. So what I'm going to do to showcase this a little bit more is I'm just going to create another directive that we can test. So I'm going to write here directives. I'm going to say we need a directive that can um, write. uh, So it's going to be a super simple directive that it's just gonna grab some test as a parameter and place it, and that's it. I think I already have one similar, which we're gonna actually open. And So we're actually gonna rename this one as, what did I name it? Write text. Okay. So we're gonna rename it as write text, and we're gonna call it write text here, text, and write text. Basically, what we're doing is we're grabbing an argument from the scope called argument, or actually arg. We're restricting it to be an element, and we're placing it inside of a div. That's pretty much it. We can also, just to differentiate between the other directive, we can um, add a style here that says that, I don't know, font size is pixels, which is a terrible thing to do, but that should work. So what we should do now is we already have this JS file, but now we need to actually have it inside of AEM. So what I usually do is I create a bunch of uh, batch files to help me out and make things quicker. But since since I'm not, since you guys probably do not have them, I'm just gonna go and run the actual Maven command. But to do that, I'm gonna open my batch file because I don't really remember it right now. So I'm gonna hit here, batch, and EMC deploy. Basically, that's what we need to run. Maven clean install, PO install package, and where we're gonna also be skipping the tests. So that's my batch file, and actually I'm just gonna run my batch file because it also changes the folder I'm in. So I'm just gonna run that EMC deploy. Um, well, what this is gonna do is it's gonna grab all the components that are defined on this PO install package, and if there are any Java classes or if there's anything else, it will compile them and generate the bundles so that they can be installed. This is in certain points similar to what we did with the package manager, but it's done automatically, and we do not have to worry about it. Um, Also, this will let all these things be available for us to use. So that's the important part. Um, so I'm also be preparing a little bit for that. So usually you will find a support. Well, depends on the name of the component that you were building that is going to be including all of these files. But basically, you need to call it something that you can remember. And here, JS file, it's the actual support component. So this is a base component, and you need to know where this is going to happen. So just to show you where that is, I'm just going to open support homepage. I think that's XML. Okay, yeah. So basically, oh no, this is a template. Oops. Homepage. Page, that's the template, and this is the client lib. Okay, so if I go here, there's this support homepage client lib that's including all of these other files, which also includes the support base folder, which is the one that we were looking at and the one that is the most important for this project because that's the one that has everything. As why it's called support homepage, that's because this file is inside of this client libs folder, and we're looking for this support homepage uh, folder basically. So now that we have that out of the way, we see that the build succeeded, and we're gonna look for that write text directive. As we can see, there's nothing here, and that happens because sometimes AEM doesn't clear the cache, so we have to do that maybe a little bit manually. And after trying again, let's see if we already have it. There we go. So we now have a directive called write text. The easiest way to test that one is to just go back here. I'm gonna and just edit this one. So we already have our div, and what we're gonna do here is we're gonna call write text. The argument was arg, and we're gonna do some text goes here. It should work. First of all, we were not placing any text inside of that actual element, so it should, and it should also look at that not working. What did I do? Oh, I think I know what I did. I didn't refresh this page before with Control F5 so that it would load the actual support. There we go. So this text should be 20 pixels. And as you can see, there we have it, 20 pixels. And it's inside of that directive. So that was the way of building, an easy directive, an easy building something real quick and making it available uh, for the front end inside of AEM. For controllers and services and all that, we have to follow the same thing. As you can see here, we're just adding new files here that will be part of support homepage CSS, JS, which includes pretty much everything. Um, I think we're gonna have to cut it here, and I will continue with this in the following video. Thank you guys.